It's all but official. Ilia Topuria is fighting at UFC 317, the reigning featherweight champion turned lightweight contender. Just confirmed he's in training camp. And multiple top sources, including Alvaro Colmenero and Ariel Helwaniar, backing it up. Now with Dricus du Plessis officially pulling out of his title defense against Khamzat Chimaev, it seems like Ilia is going to headline International Fight Week, possibly for the vacant lightweight title. And honestly, Dricus pulling out Mitov been the best thing to ever happen to Ilia Topuria, because now he finally gets the opportunity to chase what he vacated his belt for. Yes, it scrapped the middleweight title fight a lot of fans were waiting for. But in Ilia's world, this is perfect timing. Now, the question is, who's he fighting? According to Helwani, Ilia is 100% fighting for a title on June 28th. Not for an interim belt. For a real, undisputed, or vacant UFC title. And there are two possible scenarios: Ilia versus Islam Makhachev for the lightweight belt, or Ilia versus Charles Oliveira for the vacant title. If Islam vacates and moves up to welterweight, let's start with the biggest one: Ilia versus Islam. That's the fight Ilia has been asking for. He doesn't just want to beat Islam, he wants to submit him with a Darce choke. Specifically, he's been visualizing it, manifesting it, and if he pulled it off, we're talking about one of the greatest career runs in MMA history. Knockout Volkanovski, knockout Max Holloway, submit Islam. That's some once in a generation, pound for pound greatness. But there's a big obstacle. Islam Makhachev has gone radio silent on the situation, and the UFC still hasn't confirmed whether he's vacating or staying. The longer the silence, the more it feels like Islam is done with lightweight and planning a full move to welterweight, which brings us to scenario 2 and, honestly, the more likely one: Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title. Charles just posted on Instagram saying he's back. He's ready, and he has mouths to shut. And guess who's been talking the most about Charles lately? Yup, Ilia. Stylistically, this is a banger. Charles is still one of the most dangerous finishers in UFC history. And Ilia, while undefeated, has never fought someone with the jiu-jitsu pedigree and chaotic striking of Charles. If this fight happens, it's a legit coin toss. Ilia's power is real. But Charles has been through wars with killers like Chandler, Poirier, and Gaethje. If Ilia gets too aggressive, he might get wrapped up. If Charles gets reckless, he might get flatlined. But while Ilia versus Charles is exciting, this all hinges on what Islam does. if Islam vacates. It creates a ripple effect across the UFC. He'd likely challenge the winner of Jack Della Maddalena versus Belal Muhammad for the welterweight title. And suddenly, we'd be looking at THREE champions in flux. Ilia vacated to move up. Islam vacates to move up. And if Belal wins, he's also said he wants to go to middleweight, so we'd be watching a tripleweight class domino effect. A wild shuffle of belts, title shots, and contenders. And let's be real, the welterweight division is a mess, right? Now, who even deserves the next title shot? Shavkat Rakhmonov. Maybe, but his best win is over Stephen Thompson. Joaquin Buckley. He just knocked out Wonder Boy and is rumored to be fighting Kamaru Usman. If he beats Usman, he's probably the most deserving contender, but hasn't had the moment that screams title shot yet. So while that division sorts itself out, Islam could swoop in and immediately fight for the title, especially if Jack beats Belal. And here's the thing, if Islam moves up and gains size, there might be no going back to lightweight. He's already the same size as some 170 ERs like Belal. And if he adds even more mass to make the cut easier, it's doubtful he returns to 155, which means that dream fight Ilia versus Islam might be gone forever. Unless Topuria eventually moves up to welterweight again, which seems unlikely, especially if he wins the lightweight belt. The UFC is not going to let Ilia win a second belt and immediately vacate again. They'll make sure he defends at least a few times in the lightweight division before chasing anything else. So, if Islam's gone, that division belongs to Ilia, Charles, Arman Sarukian, Justin Gaethje, and the new wave. And that's where things get spicy. If Ilia versus Charles headlines UFC 317, put Arman Sarukian versus Justin Gaethje on the same card. That fight could decide the next title challenger. Give Mateusz Gamrot another high-level name, maybe the winner of Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. Let the division sort itself out naturally. And yes, we know Paddy Pimblett is lurking, and the UFC might try to squeeze him into the conversation, but for now, it should be between Charles, Arman, and Gaethje. Now, on the middleweight side of things, it's being reported that Dricus du Plessis broke his shin. If true, he could be out for a long time. And worse, his durability and power, which are his key strengths, may never be the same. If that's the case, they should do Khamzat Chimaev versus Nasruddin Imavov for the interim title, not KO Boralho. Imavov just knocked out Whitaker and deserves the spot. Baralho is solid, but he hasn't earned a title shot over Ima Vov. As for UFC 37, we're looking at a potential three-sided fight card. Ilia versus Charles for the lightweight title. Alexandra Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France for the flyweight title, possibly. Khamzat versus Imavov or Baralho for the interim middleweight belt. A strong main card. Stack that with matchups like Githja versus Arman, Gamrot versus Max or Dustin, and maybe Paddy versus Hooker. And suddenly, you've got an actual international fight, week-worthy, pay-per-view. So, where does this leave us? The champ era is officially dying out. The UFC is finally forcing champions to vacate before moving up, and it's the right move. It keeps divisions moving, contenders active, and title log jams a thing of the past. Ilia gets to lead a new lightweight era. Islam gets to chase welterweight glory, and the rest of the divisions middleweight, welterweight, lightweight, about to get a whole lot more active. So I want to know from you guys, who should Ilia fight, Slam or Charles? If Islam vacates, should Shavkat or Buckley get the next welterweight title shot? And how would you build out UFC 317 to make it feel like the true International Fight Week card it's supposed to be? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Asterisk.